All right, y'all, the time has come. We are talking about Girlfriends, starting with season 1, and let's kick it off with a character breakdown. First, we have Joan, who is a lawyer and just made junior partner. She's also a bit of a hopeless romantic and an awkward dork. Next, we have Tony, who is a realtor, and she's pretty shallow. She's just looking for a man with a lot of money to be her husband. Next up is Maya, and she's Joan's assistant, and she's the only married one out of the group. Then we have Lynn, who is the forever student. She's got about 5 to 7 graduate degrees. She's basically a mooch. She's got no job, and it is very important to note that she is adopted. Lastly, we cannot forget about William. He is the sole male of the friend group. He is also a lawyer, and him and Joan work together at the same law firm. The show follows them in LA as they deal with jobs, their friendship, and their romantic relationships. Okay, now into my general thoughts about season 1 of Girlfriends. Now, I think season 1 did a really good job of setting a foundation for what this series was going to be like. And I love how it sits right in between of a classic sitcom and a drama. Now, when it comes to the friendship of these 4 women, they really started the season off with how pretty much the whole series looks like with them. First, Joan and Maya always seem to be butting heads because Maya accuses Joan of being classist and egregious, which she is. And then we have the Joan-Tony saga that starts in the very beginning. I mean, in the very first episode, Tony brings Joan's ex-boyfriend to Joan's birthday party. The only real issue I had with the first season was when Joan's little thought bubble would come out. Like, I understand the concept there, but it was just a no for me, and I'm glad they got rid of it later on. Overall, they didn't waste any time with this first season. Now let's talk about the relationships in season 1 of Girlfriends. Starting it off with the least messy relationship, we have William and Yvonne. These two met online, but their first date didn't really work out that great. But they ended up running into each other all the time. That seemed like fate, so they decided to give their relationship a chance, and it's going strong. William even proposes to Yvonne in the end of the season, but that's really only because he wants her to quit being an officer. Next up is the first little love triangle between Joan, Davis, and Sean. In the beginning, Joan and Davis had a little will they, won't they vibe, but it kind of got squashed because Davis went back to his fiance. Then Sean comes into the picture, and once Joan kind of works through the fact that he is a sex addict, their relationship starts to what seemed like go strong. The love triangle part comes in the Valentine's Day episode when Sean is away and Davis is there, and Joan and Davis kiss and almost run off together. But then Sean comes back and Joan ends up choosing him. In the end of the season, their relationship is a little rocky because Sean is moving to New York for a job, and instead of Joan being there for him in his last days in LA, she goes off and deals with the Tony drama. And now let's talk about the Tony, Greg, Clay love triangle of the season. Greg being the man that Tony loves, but he's basically a starving artist, and Clay being the doctor that she has an affair with, and then he falls in love with her and proposes. At first, she accepts Clay's proposal, but then she realized that Greg is the one that she wants, so she breaks it off with Clay. But it's too late with Greg because Joan accidentally tells him that Tony got proposed to by another guy and accepted. It's just one big mess of a situation. Alright guys, now let's dive deep into the first entry of the Tony v. Joan saga. So Joan thinks that it's a good idea for her to take Tony on this trip to Jamaica to cheer her up after Greg breaks up with her. And on this trip, Joan finally reveals to Tony that she's the reason why Greg found out about Clay. And Tony decides to give her a beatdown, as well as blame Joan for the reason why she doesn't have any man at the moment. Now, does Tony have a right to blame Joan for everything? No. She was the one who was cheating, and if she had never gotten with Clay, none of this would have happened. Was Joan wrong for telling Greg? No, because she thought that he already knew, and that's why he was coming to talk to her. Joan should have stayed in LA and tried to explain her actions to Tony and Greg and hope that that would mend their relationship. But let me know what y'all think and stay tuned because we're diving into season 2 next.